a neighboring property owner or someone else involved with the project or in the community. So we will start with Taylor Trout.
Good morning. I'm an attorney representative for the applicant.
Okay, great. Welcome. And looks like we have Matt Lascheid here from the City Planning Department. Welcome, Matt.
Hey, good morning, David. Morning, everybody.
Morning, Matt.
And looks like we have Jesse Francoer. Is that right?
Yeah, close, Frank Court, and I am an authorized representative for the applicant. You might also see my iPhone on here. I have to join from my computer and my iPhone, but it's the same person.
Okay, great. Welcome. Looks like Jacob Powell is here.
Yeah, the name's correct, and I'm a project manager with the applicant.
Okay. And Matt Polhouse.
Morning. I'm with IMEG, project manager. We are the engineer on the project on behalf of the applicant.
Okay, welcome.
you.
There's a Tony Zook. Is Tony Zook with us?
Yes, I'm also on behalf of IMEG project manager representing the client, the applicant for engineering.
Okay, thanks. Let's see. I think that's it. Are we expecting anyone else to join us here on the applicant owner side before we get started?
We are not.
Okay, great. Let's get started then. I need to read through the hearing script for these hearings, which will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing. Then we can begin. So this is the January 21st, 2026 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. Again, my name is David Sturkey. I'll be presiding over the hearing today. The case before us is case number ZH20250135. That's 3942, 3944, and 3946 Edwards Road. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any other parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any other party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. For our purposes here today, Mr. Trout, I'll allow you to sort of take the lead here. I'm pretty liberal about how you want to orient your presentation. So if you want to do some opening statements, that's fine. If you want to sort of direct examine your clients, that's fine as well. Or if you just want to turn the floor over to them to let them tell me about the project. However you'd like to do that. One of you can speak or all of you can speak. It's really up to you. If there were anyone here from the general public, I would let them speak after the applicant has the chance to present their case. I'll hear from Matt Lascheid to provide any testimony in addition to the staff report that he's provided on this application. And let's see, in the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony provided in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. If we do have anyone here from the public that testifies in opposition to this application, Mr. Trout, being an attorney, you will have the opportunity to cross-examine that person. But seeing as we don't have anyone here at this time, it doesn't seem like that will happen. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem to be irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. Okay, last thing I need to do here is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, and you are not an attorney, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if that's you, if you could please just take yourself off of mute now. I'll need everyone to raise their right hand and to answer out loud. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you shall provide will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
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 Okay, great. Thanks, everyone. And Mr. Zook, if you are going to provide any testimony, we'll just need you to activate your camera at the time that you provide that testimony, just an FYI. Okay, Mr. Trout, are you ready to proceed?
I am.
Okay, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Sturkey. On behalf of the applicant, Canoe Hill Ohio 2 LLC, my intent today to begin with is kind of just to give a brief overview of the application, how and why it satisfies all of the or complies with all of the requirements for the conditional use. Not to just merely rehash everything that we've submitted in our application, which I would request obviously be admitted as part of this proceeding. I will give that brief overview, and then my intent is just to turn it over to Jesse Francoeur to speak about the application further. We do have part of the design and engineering team here primarily just to answer any questions that you or anyone else may have. I don't expect that they'll be testifying unless those questions are there, but we wanted to provide you with as much available resources as possible. So the conditional use application really is just for the installation of a surface parking lot for the properties 3942 through 3946. As part of this project, there will be a demolition of the existing long vacant structure at 3944 Edwards Road. And those lots, 3942, 3944, and 3946 would be consolidated into one parcel with the surface parking lot being installed on that one consolidated parcel. The lot will primarily be used for the applicant's employees, customers, vendors, delivery personnel, and other authorized visitors to that business. In general, I'll just highlight that the applicant was very cognizant, and we were very cognizant to work ahead of this process to really get the plans in line with all of the zoning and building requirements. We believe that to be accurate and is reflected in the staff report. We were very careful and worked diligently to make sure that is the case. This will be the ultimate impact of this will really be converting an underutilized and frankly deteriorating site of that 3944 vacant building into a compliant, well-designed parking lot that supports the neighborhood vitality. Ultimately, the staff has recommended approval for the conditional use, including findings that it does comply with all the applicable standards and requirements, and stating that it's appropriately located, designed, and configured, and that there's no adverse impacts that are anticipated. I'll just highlight briefly some of the code compliance matters. Again, I'm not going to rehash everything here that's in the letter, but I just want to highlight a few of them. We believe that the application is in the zoning harmony of the area. It is an area that is zoned CNP. It aligns with the purposes and intent of that zoning designation, and it advances orderly development and improves site function. Really, the whole purpose here is that currently as designed, the properties do not allow for enough parking on site. So a lot of parking is utilized either off site or on street. So the implementation of this parking lot will really, pardon me, I apologize, will really allow for more users, like I said, vendors, customers, employees to utilize off-site parking, really get cars off the street.
Mr. Trout, if I could ask one question on that. So,
Of course.
could you tell me more about how the application is consistent with CNP being commercial neighborhood pedestrian? How a parking lot is consistent with a pedestrian oriented district?
Yeah, and I think that the staff report probably answers that pretty well for us. The area, it's a high traffic, it's on a high traffic road. Edwards Road is a high traffic road that leads to the interstate and the surrounding area. This is directly from the staff report, and has a more auto-oriented suburban style development that's across the street. So the parking lot itself is consistent because it will allow for better use of the current business, the adjacent business, and really help to take that traffic on-street congestion off of the street during business hours. Right now, like I said, there is a vacant building on 3944 that's just not being utilized at all. So there's really no function to it. But the real, I think, crux of this is that it advances the orderly development of that area and improves site function.
Okay, thanks.
It will accommodate anticipated volumes. Like I said, just going back to that traffic and on congestion during business hours, road congestion. It will improve site safety use, efficient internal circulation of that traffic. Right now, there's in that area, if you're familiar with it, the buildings are very close to the street, right? So visibility is limited when you're entering and exiting some of these locations, including the current site. So allowing for more visual perspective for the driver, so that there's less risk there as well. I'll also just highlight in that regard that the applicant was very cognizant to make sure that it met all of the buffering and landscaping requirements. Working ahead of that, staff highlighted that in the report. There's appropriate landscaping, lighting, etc., that'll be addressed in this parking lot as well. So, and this just continues to answer your question too, that there are multiple surface lots in the area already. This will just be adding one. And frankly, if you were to look at it a different way, there is, and Jesse can expand on this, either 2 or 3, what I'll call disjointed surface parking lots on this location that just really doesn't have an appropriate or proper flow in that parking. So opening this up, demolishing this building, and creating one lot rather than 2 or 3 disjointed parking lots will be advantageous. Let's see. So there is the added benefit too, that we're removing or demolishing what I'll call a potential blighted building. It's not now, but it is vacant and it is deteriorating. There's the compliance with the remaining standards as well, that a parking lot is a listed conditional use in the applicable district. So we're permitted obviously to apply for that conditional use. Staff does note that and agrees that the lot complies with the applicable layout and parking lot landscaping standards, and that the adverse impacts are minimized due to the site's design, its context with respect to its location, as I mentioned, being on a high traffic, basically interstate serving corridor. Yeah, from that point, if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Jesse to really highlight the rest of that and answer further questions you might have.
Okay, yeah, I don't have any other questions at this time.
Okay.
Thanks, Taylor. And thank you, Mr. Sturkey, for allowing us to present this case. I'm going to just expand more on what Taylor was saying, which, were all great points. So to reiterate, we are seeking a conditional use approval, which we have the right to apply for in the CNP zoning district, which is the zoning district that this property falls on. Again, we're talking about parcels identified as 3942, 3944, and 3946 Edwards Road, all of which we're proposing to be one consolidated parking facility that would serve the adjacent business at 3950 Edwards Road, which is immediately to the north of those parcels. So the reconfigured parking lot would just provide more parking space for the employees, patrons, delivery individuals, and other people that would be visiting the store. It's going to improve ingress and egress along Edwards Road. As Taylor had said, right now you kind of have several disjointed parking lots that sit in between narrow sections of the buildings. Specifically, if you were to look at 3946, there is an entryway into the property that is wide enough for one vehicle going in either direction. So you can see how that would be difficult. If you had somebody coming in and coming out, that would cause a safety issue for people on Edwards Road who are driving down that street. And additionally, in exiting that building, it's very hard for you to see because 3944, the building that currently sits on that lot, is what I would consider probably in the public right of way, but it was built in a time that the setbacks probably weren't as restrictive as they are now. And additionally, there is another parking facility on 3942, albeit in a very disorganized manner. So the parking spaces are actually angled facing the street. So if you drive in, you almost have to turn around to maneuver yourself to face the way in which the parking spaces are facing. So again, it just is going to create a more simplified and safe layout of the parking facility if we were to move forward with this plan. So as I had said, 3942 is that narrow parking lot with the parking spaces facing in the opposite direction of travel when entering the property. The building that's on 3944 is obsolete and unoccupied. There are repairs and things that are needed for that building that unfortunately cost probably more than it would cost to just demolish it and build something else. So it would be very difficult for us to move forward with any other plan there. And then we do have that small additional parking lot on 3946 with that very narrow entryway. So as part of the project, like we've said, we'll demolish the building on 3944, consolidate the 3 parcels into one single parcel, which was a recommendation by staff when we had submitted this plan. We do have a plat that's been prepared, and upon review and obviously sign off by the city, it would be ready to be recorded for that if approved here today. And then we would reconfigure that site into one unified parking facility, which would be bi-directional flow. You would have 2 points of ingress and egress, one on the north side of that consolidated parcel and one on the south side of that consolidated parcel. The design and the application was developed specifically with Cincinnati zoning code in mind, and it has been refined based on feedback from city staff, specifically Matthew Lescheid, who's very helpful through this process. The proposed plan meets applicable setback and parking lot landscaping requirements, provides 3 ADA accessible parking spaces closest to the building and to public sidewalks, which is consistent with zoning and accessibility standards. We did receive one communication voicing opposition during this process. It was specifically regarding variances for various design standards, but I just want to reiterate that we're not proposing any variances to this project. Merely we're requesting conditional use approval. And based on our knowledge and our working with city staff, the design complies with all applicable zoning standards. So if something does arise and it is not fully compliant, we're more than happy to work with city staff to correct those issues. So in closing, and in agreement with the city or the staff report, we do believe that the request for this conditional use is appropriate based on the materials that we've submitted and the fact that the proposed parking facility is consistent with surrounding development, specifically if you're looking at the retail development on the west side of Edwards Road. We'd be removing a vacant and deteriorating structure, improving the site functionality for 3942 through 3946 Edwards Road, as well as increasing safety for the area for individuals traveling in automobiles. It'll support our business, and it'll also generate some temporary construction jobs for the project. So happy to answer any other questions that you have. And if there's any technical questions, we can have members of the IMEG team jump in to help as well.
Okay, great, thank you. I don't have any questions right now. I think unless there's anyone else from your team that'd like to say anything now, I'll move over to Matt Lescheid to provide any additional comment.
Thank you, Mr. Sturkey. Yeah, as we discussed, the property is zoned CNP, which is commercial, neighborhood, pedestrian oriented. I think you raised a good question. The CNP district generally is intended to be walkable, and parking lots are not usually what you expect to see here. Think about like Hyde Park Square, Mount Lookout Square. Those districts are also zoned CNP. If somebody was proposing to demolish a storefront building and install a surface parking lot, that may not be a good idea. But here, the context is a little different. I think from, looking at the historic buildings in the area, it looks like this probably was more of a walkable neighborhood business district. Over the last, 100 years, we've seen the introduction of I-71. We've seen Rookwood Commons. The character has changed a little bit, and the character of this district is not quite the same as other areas in the city that may share that CNP zoning district.
Is the newer development newer commercial development across the street, is that in Cincinnati or is that Norwood?
Norwood.
Okay.
So we don't have any control over what happens over there, but yeah. So moving on, the site has been designed to meet all of the parking lot landscaping requirements. It's appropriately designed and configured. There are no adverse impacts anticipated as a result of the proposed parking lot. And even in a pedestrian-oriented district, having the parking lot to the side of the building with trees along the sidewalk is preferable to if it were in the front, which, so, although a parking lot does require conditional use approval, the configuration and site layout is appropriate, and staff recommends approval.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Appreciate your testimony and your work on the staff report. I will turn it back over to the applicants and Mr. Trout. Anything you'd like to say in response to Mr. Lashide's commentary, or anything else in closing or otherwise before we adjourn? And Mr. Trout, you're muted. Mr. Trout, you're muted.
I managed to mute myself. I apologize.
No problem.
The only thing that I will add, and perhaps even ask you, is whether you believe it. I know that you see the site, you've seen the application itself, the plans, but if it would benefit you to see the kind of aerial view of the area, including the parcels at issue. Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just add there are surface lots in the area as well. So, and this really is designed to be, compliant with all of the new regulations and landscaping. So it's going to be a very nice looking parking lot, right? It's not going to just be your run of the mill surface lot. It was thoughtfully designed and planned.
Okay. All right. I think we can leave it at that. Unless,
Okay.
Did you have more?
Nope, that's all.
Yeah, I've had a chance to review the application materials. I do agree with the staff report in terms of the pedestrian district versus auto district. I'm very familiar with this area. It is certainly in practice more auto oriented and less pedestrian oriented, and I think a lot of that is outside the control of the city and the property owners there because of the Norwood jurisdiction. And so, based on the arguments that I've heard here today and the staff report and the application materials, I agree that it would be impractical to strictly enforce the zoning code to this application. And so I'm going to approve the conditional use. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. That typically takes about 2 weeks. I'll get that to you as quickly as I can. As soon as I finish it, I put it into a PDF. I'll email it to everybody in here today. So you'll have a copy of it really just moments after it's complete. As soon as Matt sees that email, he can approve the zoning permitting on his end, and you all can take the next steps. Any questions about any of that?
Wonderful. No questions.
Okay, great. Well, good luck with the project, guys. Hope you have a great day, and we're adjourned.